Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
The last couple of weeks have seen you abandon a whole series of promises to workers, abandoning the promise to extend sick leave, abandoning the promise to introduce living wage, incredibly refusing to scrap sub-minimum wages. And people watching this performance might ask if you are following the lead of the most anti-trade union boss in Ireland, Michael O'Leary, who launched your election campaign last November. My question is whether you have had any more meetings with him since you took office, and how has your relationship with him influenced your decisions as Minister?
Thank you, Ciarán. I've had no meetings, interactions or correspondence with the business owner in question since my appointment as Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment back last year in connection with any of my work, or neither has my department.
I quote Michael O'Leary at your launch: "We need a government that delivers for enterprise. It's vital we elect a government that gets shit done. And I can think of nobody here, certainly in the current government, who demonstrates more action, more energy than Peter Burke." More action, more energy for enterprise. Is that why you are doing what you're doing? Are you following the lead of Michael O'Leary, anti-trade union, anti-worker boss, in reneging on previous commitments to extend sick leave, to introduce a living wage, the vote of this, the last Dáil, to abolish the sub-minimum wage rates, a legalised discrimination, legalised super-exploitation of young workers, where they're allowed to be paid even less than the minimum wage? You talk about employment rights, you say you're in favour of them and so on. Your action demonstrates the opposite, but also the fact that you had the most famously anti-worker, anti-union boss in the country launch your election campaign also suggests the opposite.
Minister.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd say my actions do demonstrate that we have supported employment and workers right throughout our economy. I make the point, first of all, that we are committed to achieving a living wage, and that we are about 3.5% away from it in one metric, which is the survey data for labour force. And secondly, we are on it in relation to the CSO data and structure of earnings data. Secondly, I pointed out quite clearly the number of improvements we have made. We are committed to auto-enrolment, which will come in on the 1st of January, protect the futures of workers. Secondly, we have banned zero-hour contracts. Thirdly, that we have and worked to bring in tips and gratuities legislation to protect the most vulnerable workers. We have introduced a sick pay scheme, which is ever present. We were very clear in our manifesto before we went into government that at this point in time we did not feel we could extend it any further. We have commissioned a review of employment legislation, and also we have committed to an action plan for collective bargaining, which will see public consultation is now underway in connection with it. So from all those areas, and from additional rights through the requesting remote working, supporting workers, and significant increases in the minimum wage over the last number of years, no government has done more for workers' rights than the current administration and the previous one. And that's a fact.
Saying that's a fact does not make it a fact. You've been in power, what, 3 months, 4 months? You have not progressed workers' rights at all. You've taken a whole series of negative steps, reneging on the commitment to extend sick leave, reneging on the commitment to reach a living wage, reneging, and I want to focus in on this one, on the vote of the last Dáil to abolish sub-minimum wages. The Dáil voted now 2 years ago to abolish sub-minimum wages. That was then a year-timed delay because the Low Pay Commission was going to look at it. The Low Pay Commission looked at it, and the Low Pay Commission unanimously recommended the abolition of sub-minimum wages. Then you wanted to kick the can down the road again. You said, well, we're going to have an economic impact assessment. But I got a PQ back from you 2 days ago asking how this is getting along. You said, I think it's due to be finalised in June or July, but you've already made the decision. In advance of the impact assessment, you're also going to suspend decision on that. I presume that's for 3 years, a legalised situation where young people are paid less than the minimum wage. Absolutely scandalous. And you have the cheek to say it's a fact that you're working for workers' rights.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you, It is a fact that this current government has committed to an action plan on collective bargaining in its first 3 months. It is a fact that we are commencing with auto-enrolment on the 1st of January. It is a fact that we have commenced and started an employment review of all employment legislation. It is a fact that the government has worked to protect the most vulnerable workers. It is a fact that we are significantly increasing the minimum wage over the last number of years since the establishment of the Low Pay Commission. It absolutely is, and I quoted the figures there of 29% of an increase since 2022. That is a fact. In relation to sub-minimum wage rates, from people who are 15 up to 19, for those who are entitled to work in that area and are legally able to do so, only a quarter of those are earning the sub-minimum rates. It's a very small number of people, and critically we have to look at barriers to entry of education, which is very important, and the evidence I have behind that have not been available to take that decision. The Low Pay Commission were very clear. This is a very complex issue. They said that in their report. I'm going to examine it further, and in connection with the work, we have made a decision as a Cabinet to make a decision in 2029, and that is final on the issue.
Thank you. Move to question number 10 now in the name of
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.